There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am your host, Nick, as always. We're back to talk the 49th episode of the famous Rod Serling classic Twilight Zone series that he created all by himself and eventually went insane because people pissed him off. So in reality, he wants to go back there to fix, all the problems of this season, which seems to be an ongoing thing. Before we begin, we are on audio feeds. I have a question, but we're on audio feeds like Anchor and iTunes and Google Play, Amazon, all that good stuff. I'm of course here with my two co-hosts, which are the 6 and 9 of this podcast, and that of course is Triv and Jacob. How the hell are you guys doing?
Jake, are you the 6 or the 9?
That's what I was saying. I'm gonna go with the 9.
Okay, I suppose I don't mind being the 6 this time. But next time, can I be the 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But you gotta remember, you gotta go back there to be 6 or 9. So,
My back's
yeah.
kind of hurting, so I don't need to be upside down today. Right side up,
Yeah, I'm only half a woman, so that doesn't really matter.
There you go.
Well, that would make the 6th part a little bit easier, less
That is true.
legs.
That is true.
So I have a question for you guys before we get into the actual episode, and I'm asking how you guys are doing. Do you guys notice a problem with this season? Am I the only one that feels like this season is like subpar compared to last season? Yeah,
I mean,
it's got some bangers in it, but it's got some
classics
classics too.
I think you're
Like,
you're just all upset because Monsters Do on Maple Street got knocked out of first place. You're just salty.
I mean, that could be a reason, but no, seriously. Like, we're going to talk about an episode here in just a second that I'm starting to wonder about season 2. I think season 3 is when it finally hits the stride. This is my feeling on season 2 of any TV series, even though this is an anthology series. I feel like the second season always suffers with just like they don't know what they want out of a season, so they just kind of experiment, and then season 3 is where it kind of like takes hold and becomes the classic that it is.
How does that describe season 4?
Season 4 is when you are in college and you had that night of partying, and then you threw up all over everyone's dishes, and then you realize like you still remember that day, but it's kind of fun, but it has its like terrible moments.
That's a very specific
story.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very specific thing. Did you
I
all
didn't say it
pee
happened.
in the sink?
Maybe it has like a Star Trek curse or a Windows
there you go.
curse where it's like every other one
Yeah.
just hits. And so, season 2, we had all forgotten how. I mean, it hasn't been bad, but it has been. I will say that season 2 has been mediocrely mediocre. Like, it's had some really good ones, but man, it's had some really just kind of and then some bad. Our worst episode yet was in season 2, in fact.
Yes, it was. I don't know.
Yes.
It's just weird. It's weird to me. Like, we're gonna finally get out of this funk here in a couple of weeks, but just like for the time being, I'm like, I feel like this is like the dregs of like one of my favorite shows of all time, and I feel sad about
Less
that. I'm a sad
episodes,
panda.
didn't there?
No,
there's less episodes.
No, I think there's like 6
like
less
20
episodes.
There's 29 episodes total this season.
Instead of 36, yeah.
Yeah.
But the next season's 36 episodes, I think.
And what number is this in season 2? I'd have to look.
13, season 2, episode 13.
So
This is like a bad luck episode.
We're almost halfway through the season.
Damn.
Yeah.
Not quite. Well, we got 1 or 2 more episodes. We're halfway through, and
Yeah.
it's still like I'm with you. My overall kind of like view of the season is kind of not awful. It's just kind of
Yeah, same.
hey, it is not living up to season 1.
We're
It's
also only
ironic.
halfway
There's been
through
some really
season
good
1.
ones. Yeah, maybe season 2, the second half is like where all the bangers are. I know one of the bangers is, but
You think?
yeah, for what I
Dude.
remember.
This guy is literally waiting till the week of September 20th to just give it his all. Like that's how close we are to it.
I'm just
to have
thinking
to deal with
I'm
it.
gonna laugh my own ass off if I watch this episode and I'm all like hyped, and then I go and I watch it and I'm like, kind of sucked.
Jacob's gonna be like the most depressed you've ever seen him ever when we get to that episode.
He's just
I
gonna
thought
have
it was
all we're
really
gonna
funny.
see is like the top of his head because he's gonna be like face down on the thing, just bawling the entire time.
No, I'll just have to switch over to like To Serve Man or something. Like,
Mm.
okay, now I like To Serve Man the most.
Well, I know that my standby, will the real Martian please stand up, is forever good. So,
Hey, we still got the obsolete man to talk about, so
oh, I know. I'm just saying.
we're getting there. But anyways, so how you guys doing? How's everything in your life? I know it's been hectic for me, at least in the last couple of weeks, with tons of hours worked. So putting this podcast together while working like 80 hours a week is not a fun time.
I can
But
bet not.
we do it.
Yay.
So, but
I mean,
how
I
are
don't
you
know if
guys?
we do it. You do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I show up one night a week
Same.
with half-ass notes and just go, "This sucked," or
Yeah.
"It was great," and make dirty jokes. So
I just sit
that's
up in
my
the corner.
contribution.
I just sit up in the corner with my hands on my hips. That's pretty much my contribution.
Mhm.
I talk, and then like an hour later, Jacob's like, "Yeah, you remember that? You remember that?" I'm like, "I just talked about that
One time, the one
Um,
fucking time I didn't have notes. The one time I didn't have notes. That's why I have notes.
uh,
And I have notes
yeah,
tonight.
shit.
Not many, but I have them.
Yeah, I had some weird notes on this one, honestly.
Yeah, it's this is if there's ever an episode of a overacting actor in an episode, this might be it. This might be the most overacted episode I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, not the most. It does have its moments.
Yes.
Oh
It
my
is
God.
April
Let me
14th,
in.
1865.
Because that's what a normal person says.
As you're leaving the room.
Or like, "Let me in." Oh man. But of course, we are talking about season 2, episode 13, lucky number 13, called Back There, directed by David Orrick McDearmon, written by Rod Serling, music very much by Jerry Goldsmith. I'll give it that much.
Mhm.
Production code 173-3648, and air date on January 13th, 1961. So a lot of 13s in this. Interesting.
Yeah.
But episode
There's
49.
something about the date too. About like, I think
Oh yeah, it
Kennedy
was
was about to be
14th.
yeah, it was a
elected
week.
or
It was
something?
a week before the inauguration of JFK.
Oh, okay.
The assassination of JFK later had an impact on Twilight Zone in the Twilight Zone Night Call, which would have aired November 22nd, but was rescheduled for February 7th of 64. It also served the basis for Twilight Zone Profile and Silver / Button in 1986.
So in other words, there wasn't a lot of trivia for this episode, so they're
No.
really reaching.
A little bit. I mean, it was significant in its own way, but it's a very small significance. I mean, you could
It's more of
also
a-
say that the dude that was in this was also in the execution episode as
Yeah.
time traveling type of dude.
Yeah, he did a lot of
Wait,
time traveling.
which guy? Russell
Oh,
Johnson.
Russell
was in that one?
Johnson.
He was the
Professor.
guy who traveled in time,
No,
came back.
is he?
wasn't he?
No,
wasn't
I
he
think
the
was
bad guy?
No, he was the professor, like the person
Oh, was
that.
he?
Yeah, I think so.
I
No,
saw that he was in it. I thought he was the bad guy. Oh, okay. So never mind. That's why I like him. He brought us the Dick to phone.
Yes, he did.
Gotcha.
Shit.
Oh, and then the movie version of the Time Machine was made into a movie the year before this episode aired. So
And they mention it, or they mention
H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
Well, the episode, actually, I forgot to mention, the episode stars Russell Johnson, Paul Hartman, John Lasell, Bartlett Robinson, and Nora Marlowe. So to start out to talk about this episode, I don't remember this episode at all. I know, Jacob, you probably don't. Triv, do you remember that? Do you guys remember this episode at all? I don't remember anything about this episode, not even while watching it, which is it's not like me. I usually remember something about it. I don't remember anything about this episode.
Yeah, I remember this one. It's one of those where it's like you kind of remember the premise because I mean time travel episodes always kind of struck a chord with me. So I remember it, but grand scheme, you kind of know where it's headed just because you've seen a dozen different takes on this same premise specifically for Lincoln. So
I remember. I mean, I remembered it once I started watching it. I was like, Yeah, I don't, like kind of like Triv said, I don't remember like every single specific. I knew who the mystery character was.
Yeah, same.
Like I remembered that as it was going on, but I didn't remember like the little thing that happened in the very, very end and some of the little details like that I didn't remember. But I did remember. I was like, yeah, I remember this back in time. Abraham Lincoln. Yeah.
Well, and dude
Yeah,
had a mustache. He had black hair. He was,
Yeah.
which I have thoughts on some of the things that happened in the first act.
I mean, as we all
Well,
know, it's all falsified anyway. That's not how Abraham Lincoln died. He died because John Wilkes Booth hammered him in the ass with a hammer in the booth because he
Well,
wouldn't
no,
shut up.
actually, based on the Almost Awesome show from last week, make sure to check it out. He followed in the grand tradition of Jesus Christ vampire hunter, and he's
Mhm.
actually still among us today as a
Vampire, yeah.
vampire who hunts vampires.
Or a zombie slayer, whatever.
Yeah, zombie slayer, which he actually, spoilers.
Or both.
I mean, because Nick and I reviewed that, he did actually become a zombie.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
to be
okay,
fairly
yeah.
honest,
Screw
at
it.
one point in his life, I think he time traveled to the future and gave a performance to a couple
is
of
true.
Airheads.
That is
Yeah,
true.
in a school gymnasium.
He was really good
And-
at saying "party on, dudes!"
Party on,
I
dudes!
know, right? And apparently he was stealing stuff from the picture booth. I mean, this dude is crazy. I don't know. No wonder why he was killed because he's pissing
That's
off
why he
people
got
left
hammered
and
in the
right.
ass by John Wilkes Booth.
He's like
Can't
pissing
believe it.
off
What?
photo people.
What? What?
What?
Come on,
What
string
in
bean.
the butt? What in the butt?
Hammered in the butt. That's what.
Yeah.
So
Some people are
This
wondering, what in the ever living fuck are they talking about?
Several things.
yes,
Now we
several
discussed the
things.
movies.
Yeah.
Right. But this episode actually starts out with some very philosophical ideas that have always been presented about time travel. And I just like how they go into it. They're like, hey, you know what? What about that time travel? And then this guy, Mr. Corrigan, who is the Russell Johnson character, goes, what if you went back and did this and this and this? And, talks about how, they talk about how if you tried to change things wouldn't work. And there's this whole big, like, philosophical, metaphysical thing about time travel. And if you know me very well, I love time travel because the idea of just like how convoluted it truly is, and like how things could not work and how things could work, and how there's different theories and stuff like that. And I mean, to be fairly honest, I think the most badass moment is you just pan over and just Rod Serling is just sitting there just chilling. Doesn't have a
As he
cigarette,
does.
which actually pissed me off a little bit. I'm like, why does he have a cigarette? I mean, is he going cold turkey? I don't know what's going on here, but he's just sitting
Let me
there.
down, Rod.
Yeah.
By the way,
Um,
confirmed. Nick's favorite movie is The Time Traveler's Wife
hey, I enjoy
or
that
The
movie,
Lake
actually.
House. It's The Lake House.
I enjoy that
Sandra
movie
Bullock
too.
and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Was that the one with the mailbox, or is that the other one? I can't
I've
remember.
never
It's a
seen it, but
mailbox.
yes, it's the one with the mailbox.
Yeah.
I know what it's about.
I think they made a TV
Time
series
traveling
out of it as
mailbox.
well. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, with chick from Game of Thrones.
That does bring up an
Um,
interesting point. Did you have you seen 11/22/63 miniseries
have.
on?
Did you
That
just
is one
say
of my
a
favorite
sentence?
books of all time. Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
It-
What?
11/22/63 was the date
Oh,
that.
11. I thought you said the love into
No, sorry.
2063.
At first, I was
like,
thinking the same thing.
No,
And then I realized
what
what
is
she was
that?
talking.
Stephen
She just said
King's.
syllables.
I did say
And
words.
that's it.
You know what's
okay.
great
I
about
know
that?
11.
Yeah, that's
The
one of my
book is
favorite Stephen King
amazing.
book. TV
The
series,
freaking
not so much.
doorstop. I've not seen
Yeah.
the TV series, but
TV
I
series
love the
had
book.
Thomas Jane in it. It could have been that bad.
Ooh.
Thomas Jane he's the Punisher.
Oh, yeah.
He'll
Wait,
punish
wait.
you. Wasn't he in that? Was he in?
No,
Maybe-
that was
no, I'm
James
thinking of
Franco. The
Oh.
Mist is the one you're thinking of.
No, not the Mist. There was another one that Thomas Jane was in. He was like
it
a
was
farmer.
like 18. Yeah, it was on Netflix, right? It was like 18 something.
Okay, yeah, that was Stephen King as well, wasn't it? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, it was like a
Everything
short
is
story.
Stephen King.
I don't know.
No,
This is all
but
getting cut.
no, no. Actually, what I like about 11/22/63 is like every time he comes back from the past, it resets itself, which is actually kind of cool. So
It is, and it's
Ooh,
kind
I didn't know it was
of.
time travel. I'm gonna
Yeah, it
check
kind of
that
felt
out.
like it's a great book. Like it's a freaking doorstop, but it's a great book. But it gave me real shades of this.
That's all of Stephen King's books. They're all friggin' doorstops.
yeah, you could like
That is
You
true.
you can make them think it's a fruit cake or like a big cake or something like that. And it's a book. They're like, you son
I
of
mean,
a
I
bitch,
love
I
his
wanted a
books.
fruit cake. Yeah,
But
oh, yeah.
they're really big.
Yes.
That's what she said.
The Stand and fucking it,
So
man.
big and thick.
1,000 pages.
Yep. And all of his
Big and
short
thick and
story
creamy.
like collections, and obviously they're short story collections, but holy shit, those suckers are thick too. I own a good chunk of his books, so
Those suckers
This
are thick,
actually,
yeah.
you are right. This actually feels like a Stephen King story, like a short story that he
Yeah.
would write, like a 1408 or something like that.
It has
But
an ending though.
yeah.
this guy Corrigan, Peter Corrigan Russell is debating the time travel stuff, like I said. And then he goes, and this is important. He goes, and the doorman is sitting there. Is like, did you bring a coat? He's like, no, I feel the spring coming on and stuff like that. But the doorman's gonna be important to the later on at the end of the story. But
We skipped something again.
oh yeah, go ahead and do the opening narration if we did skip it.
I want to say, by the way, before I jump into this narration, I really like the way, I don't know. I know you said you didn't like they wasn't smoking. I get it, but I like the way that it like paused and darkened and like switched over, and he was just sitting there reading the paper. He's like,
Up.
he just I like how he's getting a little, and some of them he's getting somewhat creative with the transitions. How he's working himself into the scene. It's pretty
And
cool. He's like
he feels more comfortable too.
yeah, he's like he's not just like a omnipresent voice. He's like this part of the scene, like an observer. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, witness a theoretical argument. Washington, D.C., the present. Four intelligent men talking about an improbable thing, like going back in time. A friendly debate revolving around a simple issue. Could a human being change what has happened before? Interesting and theoretical, because who ever heard of a man going back in time? Before tonight, that is, because this is the Twilight Zone.
This is why he needed a cigarette, man. This is like him talking like he just had sex. It's like the most like cool demeanor,
aloof.
like way he says it. It's like, I'm like, dude, did you just get blown in the back? Like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
it's like this.
He's
like,
really
he has
happy.
Yeah, he has a huge smile on his face. It's actually
There is
are
one part
times-
of it that he has. He just has like this jovial tone halfway through it. He's like, "Who ever heard of a human being going back in time?"
I fucking love it, man. Sometimes when Rod Serling just gets into his narration, it's just like beautiful. It's like poetry. Anyways, Peter meets the doorman, like I said, who's gonna become important to the end of the story, and he walks out and
You
of this
missed
place.
something, and I joke about this, but I still think it's funny. He gets tea spilled on him, and my question is this magical tea that causes time travel?
I don't know, but he was
Sure.
desperately sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and then Corrigan's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's just a coffee stain or tea stain or whatever. It'll come out."
Yeah,
Anyways,
he's a pretty cool dude, honestly. You're
Yeah.
expecting him to be like, "You fool!"
Yeah,
But he's like,
Which
"That's
is-
all right. I think I'm."
well, no, but it actually makes the idea of him like being overzealous and is like acting even more weird because he's like a normal dude. He's a young engineer. He's a guy that just is there he's a guy you walk across the street and just he's on his phone talking and just that type of guy. But because this is the Twilight Zone, he has to have something happen to him. And I wrote in my notes about this, like he walks out and all of a sudden he gets out of focus fainting. He's like, camera
Time
goes out of
gets all
focus.
fuzzy.
And then
Yeah,
and then that fade transition. Woo! And the effects.
the lamp. Like, oh,
The
we don't have enough
lantern
money.
one was actually pretty cool, though.
I mean, it was, but by today's standards, which I know
Yeah.
this is 60 years later, but still, by today's standards, it was just like I don't know. I guess like
It's just
and I'm
simple.
not making fun. It is. It's very simple. When I look at an effect in a movie, and I'm like, I know exactly how they do that. I could do that myself. I don't. You see some effects nowadays, and I'm like, I don't. I mean, I basically know how they did it. I could not do that. That effect, I'm like, I
Mhm.
could do that right now. Maybe it's neat, and I think, oh, that's creative. But there's, I don't know, it takes away some of the magic. Maybe I don't know.
I get it.
Maybe I'm being
I-
a curmudgeon today. I don't know.
No, you're good.
It's
too
because
much
I'm
burritos.
full of tacos and burritos. Yeah.
Well, no, it's like this is like kind of off on a different reservation, but I was watching a David Copperfield special, those 80s and 70s and 80s specials that he did that we all
That's
watched.
why
that
you
were-
kept on sending us the stuff about David
Yeah.
Copperfield.
Yeah, because it's all produced by Clorox. I'm like, this is funny, but I'm sitting here watching. It's the same thing when you talk about how you can kind of you can replicate some of the visual work. And I'm like thinking, I'm looking at the stuff that David Copperfield's doing. I'm like, a lot of the stuff I just know now. Like it doesn't even seem like cool anymore. It's just the same thing here. It's just like it shows you that like the way things are done now are way different than they are done back in the day. They're like
Oh yeah.
same type of things, but they're tweaked just a little bit differently. Like when you talk about the lamp, it's just a fade effect. It's a a cross zoom or it's a cross fade effect.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just funny. It's like what I do like about this episode is it has scope to it. So it opens up and they pan back. I mean, a lot of it takes place at the Potomac Club, which I think is actually a real place, if I remember right, or something similar. There is something similar to that, but you have a horse and carriages, and you have people in 1800 garb and stuff like that. And I just like how. I don't know how you guys feel, and I'll ask you here in a second, but I like how Corrigan is just kind of he's confused, but he doesn't really seem like he's afraid. It's like less afraid than Marty McFly was when he went back to 1955. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I made a note because we skipped forward a little bit. I got one more thing I want to say, but before I get to that, when he gets to when he figures out, beyond the horses and carriages, when he's talking to the woman at the boarding house, and he figures out I'm going back in time, he takes it really well.
Yeah,
he's just like, no, went back in time. Oh well, Papa Mentos, I'll be okay. But prior to that,
it literally takes like the young people for him to go, do the overacting bit and shit like that. So
yeah,
but
and that's kind of going to the acting, the performances in the show today didn't really bother me that much. But yeah, you are right. There were some moments he was like, oh, like that, but then there's other moments where you would think that someone would want to be maybe a bit heightened, maybe not to that effect, but he would be a bit heightened, and he's just like, whatever, just another day. But before all that, I did notice, I made a note of, I really like the score in this episode, at least in this, like when he first transitions back to 1865, and I know Jerry Goldsmith did it. The score for the episode, the sound, I liked it. I know you mentioned a minute ago, and it sounded like you may not have cared for it, Nick, but I found it very interesting. I liked it.
It's very dramatic, is what I would put.
It had a very memorable
Twilight Zone. Yeah,
it stood out, and I like, and it didn't stand out in a bad way. It stood out in a original way, not in a this isn't in the right place kind of way.
Right.
Like it stood out in a good way, I thought. And I like that. I thought it was a very interesting score.
Like this episode, I pulled out more jokey crap than anything else, and I don't know what that says. Like the episode itself had, it was a solidly put together episode. The score worked for what it needed to be. Like technically, it was a very solid episode. So at this moment, I don't really have a lot to add. I mean, we've seen, and I'm sure even at that point, I feel like time travel was done a fair amount. So
like Trouble with Templeton's a time travel episode. It's just like
very true.
Yeah, I mean,
The
this isn't nearly as
execution.
bad as that.
Yeah.
Execution.
The one
the very first, not the first episode, was it
the one where the guy flies forward in time.
Yeah, well, the very first, one of the first episodes before I was on, where the guy goes back in time to his childhood.
Oh, Walking
home.
Distance.
Yeah, that one. I mean, there's lots of time travel in the Twilight Zone. The train one.
Oh yeah, Whitby.
Stop at Willoughby. Yeah.
Willoughby, yeah. Not Whitby.
I think Twilight Zone's like it's very much a trope for sci-fi storytelling. I think it's easy to do.
Not even remotely. I mean, absolutely it is. Yeah.
The one thing you said, you picked out like a bunch of jokey stuff, and I know Nick, you were talking about the overacting and stuff. The one bit of overacting, I know you mentioned like the knocking on the door. It's like, open the door. I don't know, that just kind of fit. That's the time. The 60s, that's just how they did it. But when he's leaving after he talks to the people, which I don't know if we've covered that part yet, but where he figures out, okay, Abraham Lincoln gonna be shot tonight, and he goes to walk out the door, and he's all like hot and bothered, and the woman says something at the boarding house. He just turns around, and it's just the most odd line. I mean, what he's saying isn't really that weird. It's the way he says it, and the fact that he just said it. He just turns to this woman and he goes, "It is April 14th, 1865," and then shuts the door. I was like, what the fuck? Why would you? Who says? Why did he say that like that? Is it to let? I mean, I know why. It's to let the audience know we're back to the day that
Yeah,
Lincoln was
but
shot. Hopefully,
you could
people
have
are smart enough to know their history that that's the day he was shot.
no, but you could have done it like Back to the Future, where he just looks at the paper. He's like, no, October, whatever, blah blah blah, 1955. It's like he's just like, no, I'm just gonna read it like an actor on the stage. April 14th, 1860. It's
Yeah.
like, god damn.
I feel like that's
Like-
not the actor's fault, though. I feel like he was directed to do that.
Yeah.
though. I mean,
But he
that's
did
not
that-
something the actor would have said. I'm going to do this, and I feel like they would have told him to.
Yeah, but he did that with like in modern day too. He asked the butler guy what the date was, including the year.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, that kind of stood out. They took a not a very creative and just in your face way of letting you know what the time was at each individual time. And I was like, I feel like there's a better way you could have done that, because you're right. He did say, "Oh, it's April 14th, 1965 or 61."
61. Yeah.
And he just randomly said that, and the butler was just like, okay.
There's
He
a
even
lot-
asked him, like, what year is it? And he has no reason to ask him that. What year is it?
Well, there's a
Okay.
lot of weird stuff that happens in this episode, between just the simple fact of like the time travel stuff, and then, like I said, he walks into the boarding house, which I think he says it's like his house. I don't know if he owns the house or what's going on with that situation, but he's like,
I think
"Oh,
he
just give
owned
me
it
a room."
in the future. It was just his house.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
back then, I guess it was a boarding home.
I like the old lady's like, "I don't have time to talk about how old buildings are." I'm like, "Go."
Ain't got
But
time for
but-
shit.
But that young couple comes down, and we already kind of know what's happening, but the young couple comes down and they're like, "Oh, we're so excited. My boyfriend or my husband's gonna go out and get a carriage. We're gonna go to a theater and get some food." And he's like, "What theater are you going to?" "We're going to Ford's Theater and have some dinner." She keeps discussing dinner. I'm like, "Shut up." And
Wow.
no,
Nick
and
is
then
Fuck
after-
up, I'm hungry,
anti-dinner.
bitch.
Yeah.
but I can't remember. It's like our American
Cousin.
something cousin,
Yeah,
American
American
cousin,
Cousin.
where he was killed. But they're like that. He's like, that's when you were talking about. He just dramatically walks out. He's like, "It's April
Yeah.
14th, 1860."
But they had already
Yeah.
established that in the conversation they had.
Yeah.
Like, it was very in your face, and he just to ram it home, he walks out and just turns around. That woman's probably like, "What a psycho!" I'm glad that guy's gone. I would have loved to have seen the conversation between these three after he stormed out of the room doing that. They're like, "What in the hell was that?" I don't know.
It reminds me of that
Lock
clip
the
I
door.
sent you. He's like, "I may not know my flowers, but
Yeah.
I know a bitch when I see it." That's probably
You
what he's like.
bitch.
I do think, and I could be wrong on this, but okay, so like when Abraham Lincoln went to like the theater, they were accompanied by a major and his girlfriend or his wife. I assumed
Yeah.
that the major or the general or whatever it was the people that were going to that they were the same people.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Mm.
You're right. That was okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't think
Wait.
that wasn't it. Yeah, they were the people that accompanied Lincoln. That's why
Yeah.
she said, "Let Lincoln, give Lincoln or my best or whatever."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Ah.
realize that. I didn't even,
Yeah, I
you
didn't
are
put that
right,
together
though.
either.
Mm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We got
There's a
layers.
lot of
Yeah.
there's a
Like-
lot
like
of
a parfait.
Yes, or an onion or cake. I want an onion
Parfait.
cake.
Yeah. Anyways,
Okay.
she's been talking about cakes all day. I don't know what's
Onion
going on.
parfait.
It's my damn
Onion
birthday
parfait cake.
today. Piss off.
Happy birthday. We need to sing happy birthday
Cake.
for Trip.
No, you don't have to. Please don't.
No,
No. Stop.
do it.
Stop.
In
Stop.
in the vein of like Lady Gaga singing like a baseball game or something. Happy birthday. They do that like mouth shrivel thing.
You keep that up. I'm turning off my video.
To you. They always go like real deep.
Oh, she left. What happened?
Happy.
So Corrigan rushes to Ford's Theater to warn everyone. But of course he's arrested. It's how it is. You knock like an insane person on the back of a theater door, they're gonna arrest you for disturbing the peace. That type
After
of
they
thing.
beat the shit out of him, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we meet the really angry chief of police and Officer 69, as I call him. Yeah, 69 badge. on his helmet. So he's Officer 69 for this episode. But he's like, Corrigan's raving like a lunatic. He's just going nuts. He's like, we need to stop Lincoln from being shot. That type of thing. Like, put him in the back, and then, but Officer 69 is coming out. He's like, that he may actually be correct. And this chief's like, get the fuck out of here. Go back to your line duty. Go back to being 69. We don't want you in here. And that's when Wellington comes in the mix. And this, I know Triv, you has some stuff, and Jacob, you probably have some stuff about how he's dressed, and he looks like he's like a rich guy with like yeah. But he's like, oh, I want to take him under my wing. I think he should be released into my care. I'm like, and they're like, okay. I'm like, that's weird. Sure.
I just said people who are possibly drunk always get sent with random strangers. I mean, that is the way that it always tends to go. It's like, who does that? Even then, what the hell?
I mean, he says he's a doctor, but
maybe it's almost like they knew who he was.
Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, he said he was some type of doctor.
After, later he said that, but at first,
oh no, he said he takes care of
mentally handicapped folks.
I don't know. Yeah,
but without any notification, without any paperwork as to hey, this is what I do.
Yeah, it's just so weird. But it's so weird. He just like, my name's Jonathan Wellington, which okay, sure. I don't know. They just release him into his custody, and that's the end of the act. And
I'm
Officer
assuming
69 is saying, "Oh, I almost kind of believe him." I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, it's kind of like we could just give him to this guy and it'd be less paperwork for us. Just get him out of there. He was never here.
So there's two things on this that I kind of noticed. One, because he probably saw Corrigan. No, what's the guy's name?
Corrigan.
Corrigan, like, kind of going off, and he's thinking, crap, he knows what I'm gonna do. He changed up his name just to change up his name so there wasn't any connection. And two, and this kind of goes back to the whole Stephen King book thing again. Like, history was working very hard to stop the guy from changing things, and I think that's kind of the vibe I got here. Like, the things that ended up being changed were very small, but the big overarching events couldn't be changed. They were almost locked in time.
We'll talk about that when we get to that, like, later in the episode, because I have questions about that anyways. But that's actually the act break, is when they just release Corrigan to this Wellington guy. And I have to ask, like, weird first act. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a weird kind of strange tone to it. But I mean, it feels very much like like I said, very much like a Back to the Future template, where guy out of time, not knowing really what's going on, being over dramatic, just kind of in weird positions when it comes to his like logical and thinking. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree, or do you have other things to say about it? Not talking about the second act, but just like the first act.
I don't think I have a ton to add. I mean, I kind of said my piece on it. I think what you said makes sense, and yeah, that's kind of it.
I liked it. It had its issues, overacting and stuff like that, but I'm gonna lie, I like time travel. It does not take much. You put time travel in it, and you've already got like a one up on me. I'm already there. So I was I was on board. I was liking it. I knew where it was going, more or less. Like I said, the we'll get to it, but the not the big thing, I knew that, but the little thing, I didn't remember that. But I like time travel things where they go and mess with stuff, and we see how that
butterfly effect.
Yeah, I like those kind of deals, even when they're not good. And yeah, there's the overacting. There was the weird date, throwing out there. I guess I can just attribute that to that was studio or somebody saying, hey, we need to let the audience know when it is right now. Yeah. So I try not to hold it against it too much, because it's just one line. And yeah, there was some weird things here or there, but overall, I mean, just I am very forgiving when it comes to stuff like that, and it comes to my time travel sci-fi.
Nothing wrong with that.
Up to this point, I was on board. I mean, I wasn't like, holy shit, this is new number one so far, but I was like, this is cool. I'm cool. I'm down. I'm paying attention. I'm not editing a video. I'm paying attention to this screen today and not this one.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, even when we get to the second act, this is a middle of the road Twilight Zone episode. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's just kind of is what it is. But setting like your fan of like time travel aside, I just think it's it has an interesting idea, and the theoretical and psychological approaches to like what time travel is. You know, like we said, we went to 11/22/63, and the idea of like what happens if you stop the John F. Kennedy assassination, and there's actually some ramifications, and luckily that doesn't happen here. Or actually, I think that if they had happened where he did stop the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, I thought it would have kind of been cool to see kind of the ramifications of that. But as we know, taking that big risk and going back and stopping that, could have some serious side effects to it. But when we come back,
that's the time travel. We've seen time travel in the Twilight Zone up to this point, but time travel's never been the what the episode was about. Time travel happened and it led to other things. This is about time travel. This is about, okay, you travel in time, change things. I've always found those stories really interesting. Like, what would happen? What if you went and killed Hitler when he was a baby, like Deadpool? What would happen? That kind of whole thing. I've always found that really intriguing. And this is the first one to actually explore that a little bit to see what could happen. And kind of like Trish said, it's like Final Destination in that way, that instead of death, it's time. Father Time is going and trying to like fix all this stuff and make these events still take place. It's like, okay, this is where we need to be. You're not supposed to be here. You're screwing stuff up. So we need to get us here. Yeah. So we got to move you here, there. So yeah, I like those.
I would also add that I don't and this is purely logistical, but I don't think you could have told the story of like, it would have had to have been an hour episode for him to like change the past, or like change the assassination, go back to the future, realize shit, what the hell did I screw up, and then go back and change it or something.
I think this actually could have worked as an hour-long episode, to be fairly honest. I think if they had gone there, it would have, unlike Jezebel or something like that, this actually would have worked as a hour-long episode. Yes, I like the 29 or 24-minute episodes, but I think that could have easily worked. Like I said, 11/22/63 is 10 episodes, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But when we come back,
keep talking about Jezebel, and I remember nothing about that.
You're not missing much.
So we're gonna get to this episode, and I'm gonna be like, I think there's time travel in it. It apparently sucks. And for some reason, every time they say the name, I think of Jizz.
Jezebel?
I don't know why.
So we come back, and basically this Wellington guy is giving Corrigan some brandy. I think it's brandy. It's either brandy or whiskey or whatever it is. And they're
but anyways, he gave him X because he is sweating like a fucking pig in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, he's sweaty.
But he claims he's a benefactor, and he basically, Corrigan thinks he's a psychiatrist because he says I'm a medicine of the mind or stuff like that. He tries to convince Wellington benefactor, stuff like that. He tries to convince Wellington that he doesn't know when Lincoln will be shot, but he will be shot. And I'm kind of curious, because when Corrigan starts not feeling well, we realize that he's being drugged, as Jacob said. Was Wilkes Booth actually going to assassinate Lincoln? Did he figure out a perfect time to do it? Did Corrigan give him the time to do it, or was he already planning to do it? Like, it brings up that whole time travel aspect. Like, did Corrigan actually change time, or change the whole idea of like the past by giving Wilkes Booth this opportunity of when he could kill him?
Was he always supposed to go back in time? Yeah. And when Wilkes Booth said, "I'm starting to believe you," the thing that made him decide he wanted to shoot the president was hearing this guy saying, "You're going to shoot the president." And he was like, "I wasn't going to kill the president today. I have no reason to want to kill the president. But he says I'm going to. I kind of believe him. I need to kill the president." Dun, dun, dun. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting questions about the episode.
Agreed with that. But why did he use a different name when he was picking him up from the jail?
I mean, let's say you're I don't know, Stalin or something like that. Let's say you go back and you're Stalin.
No. I mean John Wilkes Booth.
Like,
why did he?
Well, that's my point. Let's say you're young Stalin and you have some guy going back and going, Stalin's gonna murder millions of people. Would you want people to know that your name's Stalin? No, you
did
change your name
he use John Wilkes Booth at the jail? Or
no,
did Corrigan? No.
John
But
Wellington.
did Corrigan?
Corrigan said some guy.
Yeah.
Something about John Wellington. Okay, I missed that then. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He said it outside,
and
he said it a few times. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
That was the whole point. Like,
I assumed that. I assumed that he came in and said blah blah blah. Yeah.
No,
he walks in. He's like, "I'm John Wilkes Booth." It's like,
Historically, yeah, John Wilkes Booth and the other people involved in the assassination have been planning for a real long time. But you know what? This is the Twilight Zone. So maybe this guy gave this random other guy the idea that you need to go kill the president. Okay, I guess that would.
yeah. But this Wellington leaves. Corrigan passes out, and he's woken up by Detective 69, who and finds out that he has Corrigan has the handkerchief of John Wilkes Booth, and he's trying to get out of there so he can like stop the assassination. But of course, there's that really weird shot of the crowd. It's just like it's like a 2-second shot.
What the
Which
hell
That
was
was
that?
a weird ass cutaway shot. Like out
It's
of
like we
nowhere,
ran out of
like
footage.
what? Where are these people? It looks like a lynching mob waiting to like
Yeah.
lynch Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster. And it's like, where are these people? Are they outside the window? And why are they outside this guy's window? Yeah, that was a weird shot.
But yeah, like the old lady, the one that runs the boarding house, is like, oh, that wasn't Wellington. His name was John Wilkes Booth. You're like, dun dun dun, like that fucking hamster or some shit. But I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, did you guys kind of see it coming that John Wilkes Booth was the guy that took this guy in? Like, it seems like very convenient, but it seems like it needs to happen to, make the story 24 minutes. I don't know.
Was it convenient? Or what? It would be convenient if Wilkes Booth had already planned on taking the president out, but it wouldn't be convenient if the reason he took out the president was because this guy convinced him that he was going to do it.
A good thought.
I have a few of them every now and then. But yeah, we knew it because we said we already remember what the twist was.
See, and here's the thing. I think that the way we're looking at it from a modern perspective, and this is just my thoughts. I think that as it was written by Rod Serling, it was a very straightforward guy goes back in time to stop Lincoln or stop John Wilkes Booth, and that's kind of where it ends. But the idea that we can look at it from this time and say, well, what if he put the idea in Booth's head to do this thing? I mean, I think that's really interesting.
So he needed to be there in order for history to take place.
Exactly.
Which that's an old trope. I mean, I don't know where it started, but that is a trope, when I say old trope, after this show that we saw plenty of times, that somebody is trying to do something in the past and change it, something in the future, and it ends up them going there and trying to change it is what made said thing happen. Like Looper.
Yeah.
I think Looper dealt with something similar. This is a little bit more convoluted, but along those lines,
I would agree.
So Officer 69 old lady run out because the president's been killed, and of course Corrigan does the no place like home bit where he's like banging on the wall, and all of a sudden he's back at the Potomac Club and back in 1961 or whatever, and he goes in, and as we can see, there is a wholly different person that is the butler, which I thought was weird at first. I'm like, why is the butler different?
Attendant.
Yeah, the attendant. It doesn't make any sense. And so he walks back into the room, and there's 4 guys. There was only him and 3 other guys, but now there's 4 guys sitting at the table, and one of them is the attendant, is the guy that was at the door. Yeah, Williams. Thank you. And he starts talking. He's like they're talking about like money, because that's what rich people do. They talk about money and stuff like that. And it's brought up that William was rich. He had money. And then the big Twilight Zone, you think the big Twilight Zone plot reveal is the fact that he goes back in time, is know that William is the grandson of Officer 69, who became sergeant and then somehow made money in futures and stuff like that, which I have questions about that.
His great grandson.
Yeah, or great grandson. Yeah. Of the officer who was the one that believed him. He's talking about how there was like rumors of him having information and stuff like that. And I have a question: where did this officer get his information to make millions of dollars? Like, he said
that made him famous. People didn't forget because everybody found it real curious and interesting that he was trying to do all this stuff so the president wouldn't be killed. So people remember that after the assassination, and that allowed him to become chief and then commissioner and then like mayor or something like that. So he rose his station because of this situation, because of his popularity. And then he just kind of threw out, he was like through investments and some manipulation of
I thought he
something.
made like he was able to like predict the market, like Biff
No,
Tannen having that all sports almanac or some shit,
no, I think it just put him in a better place, and then he was able
Uh,
to raise his station, and he did. Is it through manipulation of a few numbers here or there or something like that? He was able to be put into a better place to where he could make more money, and then he built his fortune from there.
I got you. That makes more
Pretty much
sense. I
what
was
he
like
did.
really confused by, but it actually brings up the whole. Well, there was actually let me bring this up. There was back in the day we watched this special that had Dudley Moore in it, and he talked to I think a scientist or something like that, or somebody about time travel and like if you went back and killed your grandfather or something like that, and how illogical that seems. But this thing that happens where if you like step on a butterfly, that the situation there seems more logical. Like they actually thought this through, and the fact that this William guy is now benefactor of his father or great grandfather's wealth, I thought was actually the better twist than the actual twist of the him going back to the past. I thought that was like a really cool kind of way to close it out. And on top of that, of course, Corgan has the handkerchief of
Just
Wilkes
wait,
Booth.
Sydney. It gets better. There's
You
more.
forgot, you forgot to have the spit coming out of your mouth.
I don't want to spit on my mic. I'd have to clean it.
No, yeah, the Marlon Wayans thing or Sean Wayans or whatever. But I mean, what do you guys think about that stuff as the episode ends and Corgan realizes he tells him, "Oh, I guess you can change stuff." Like, what do you guys think about that?
I enjoyed that part. I think like you guys said, that was a better, because he saw everything else coming. Like the second you heard Abraham Lincoln, you knew that the person that was picking him up was most likely John Wilkes Booth. He was going to try and stop the assassination. I mean, it's pretty much all right there. But the notion
And that guy
that
was just very villainous too.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
he had a cape, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
when he left the room, he was like, ha ha ha.
and a twirly mustache.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, I think the other ending or the other twist, although not as large, and it was I don't know, more impactful for me. And the other thing was that you can't, the fact that you couldn't change those big things of history, but you could change those little personal things. Like, you say one thing and it creates a ripple effect that brought this guy to a completely different place.
I thought that was a neat twist. That was the thing I didn't remember. I didn't remember the whole Williams becoming rich thing. So that was still kind of okay, yeah. I remember the John Wilkes Booth thing. The whole handkerchief in the end of him pulling, as soon as he was sitting there, he was like, "Oh, walking around like this," and he reaches down for his handkerchief. I was like, "It's gonna be the handkerchief he had." So I knew it before it happened. I don't think that was needed. I don't really think. I don't know what
yeah,
that. I wasn't offended.
That was a studio thing, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I wasn't offended,
like
but I mean, it was
thing.
fine. It was fine, but I mean, I didn't feel like that was really that added nothing. Oh, he's got the handkerchief. Go sell it at a fucking pawn shop. It's probably worth a lot or something, I mean,
yeah, exactly. And it's in such great shape. It's like it came off of him this morning.
Yeah. So, no, I don't. But once again, I don't think it really took away from the episode, but it certainly didn't add anything either. It was just kind of like
one step too far.
Yeah, not even too far. I think it just inches a little bit closer to the edge than it needs to. It doesn't hurt the episode, but it doesn't do anything either. It's like, what did you do that for? What was the point? It did seem forced, kind of like the whole saying the dates and all that stuff. There were things in this episode that were just felt forced. Not a lot, but when they were there and they stood out. It was like, why'd you do that? Why is the handkerchief there? Why is John Wilkes Booth look like fucking Blackula running around with a fucking cape and a
Yeah.
But hey, I still liked it.
Yeah. It was a solid episode.
Yeah, it's an episode that has a lot of conveniences that have to be thrown in because it is a Twilight Zone or a time travel episode.
Yeah, that's any time travel though.
Yeah,
you could tear any time travel story out there except for maybe what's the one where the guy has the headphone? Oh, that really scientific one, the independent movie. No, the independent movie where half the movie gets Primer. That's probably the only one you can't tear apart because it's so detailed that you're just like having a hard enough time understanding what the fuck is going on here.
Yeah, I don't. The director even admitted that he's like yeah, I don't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah, but
He's
beyond
like,
that time travel movie, pretty much any time travel movie out there or show story out there, you can what about this? What about that? You can tear apart. At some point you just have to let go and just be like, I'm at your mercy. Let's go. Let's do this thing. I'm on board. And that's how it was with this one. I mean, you could sit here and talk about all these other things. What are the chances that it changed this one guy's whole life to where his he's no longer going to be a butler or whatever attendant. Now he's going to be he's going to be at the same place and he's friends with you. And there's lots of things to tear apart. But
yeah,
yeah,
me
there's
myself
that thing
personally, when
about
it comes to
plot
this thing, just gotta let it go.
convenience. Yeah, exactly.
Because if you went down every one of those roads in these time travel things, you'd never get to the end.
No. You'd have a
'Cause
5-hour movie trying to explain a 15-minute concept.
Sometimes
why
you just don't need to explain it. Yeah.
No, of course
that's
not.
why when Doc Brown explains it in that chalkboard, it's like, oh, okay, okay, that's good.
Simple to
enough.
the point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back
Sometimes
to reality.
over explaining things, breaks it. Tears
You
it
know,
down.
what you need. The only explanation you need is because anal.
Because anal. Yeah. That's why all
And
this happened.
explosions.
Yes.
Why did Abraham Lincoln get hammered in the ass? Because anal.
It's about as simple as it gets.
In the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
So speaking of, with that said, I think that's where we'll end it. I think we all pretty much, agree that it's a decent episode. It's not gonna light the Twilight Zone on fire or anything, but it has entertaining moments. So yeah. With that said, let's do
Well,
Jacob
probably
liked it.
before
That's
we do
all that
that,
matters.
exactly. It ain't over till the Fat Rod sings. So
Well, that's what I was
Wow.
saying. The closing
you do
narration.
the closing. Oh, I thought you were saying let's do the
No. I should have done that. To just be like, hey, you know what? Fuck your closing narration.
Damn.
Yeah, happens. One of my few contributions to the show.
Oh,
Wait till you
shush.
see. Wait till you see next week's opening narration.
Ah, shit.
Oof.
Mr. Peter Corrigan lately returned from a place back there, a journey into time with highly questionable results, proving on one hand that the threads of history are woven tightly and the skin of events cannot be undone. But on the other hand, there are small fragments of the tapestry that can be altered. Tonight's thesis, to be taken as you will, because anal in the Twilight Zone.
I do
Yeah.
love, like, he has such a way with words. Like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that anal part
Yeah.
just really
Oh,
touched
yeah.
me.
All I can say is just wait till next week.
What's the name of next week's episode?
The truth.
Yeah,
Something
we'll
like the
get
truth,
there.
something or another.
yeah.
Hard truth or the whole truth or something. Use car salesman story. And then
Alright.
VHS.
Yeah.
I saw the preview for it and I was like, oh, video. Scan
Not
lines and all.
VHS, but yeah, tape.
Yeah, it was
whatever.
VHS. I mean, probably not VHS.
Betamax, bitches.
All right. So with that said, that is our look at season 2, episode 13, which is back there. Let's do our last segment as we always do, which is the Twilight Zone ranking list, the greatest list ever made, because no one ranks lists better than we do, right?
Woohoo!
Right, guys?
Yeah.
So is this we're getting close to, like, is this a top 25 episode? Is this above like Night of the Meek? I'll start there.
I think so.
Yeah, I would agree. I was honestly, and this is like where I would kind of start. I'm not saying that it ends there, but I would, being that his other time travel episode with the same guy was Execution, that was where I would start. That's not where I would necessarily end it, but that's where I would start my looking.
I
Holy
was just trying to do
fuck.
middle of the road.
Next week's opening is so long.
That's
Sorry.
what she said.
Here's where I'm gonna look between Passage for Trumpet, What You Need, and Mirror Image, somewhere around there.
See, I liked What You Need more than this. So I would say if we're going there, I would say between What You Need and Passage for Trumpet. Personally.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if you guys have a different place, let me know.
Not
Is
really.
this-
I like
discussion
this
true.
I like this more than Passage for Trumpet. What You Need had a lot. I remember having a lot of deep discussion about that.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to talk about there. This one, while it's a fun episode and I love time travel, not really a lot to talk about with it. It's pretty. This is what you get. There's not really like beyond the only real question with this whole episode. The only topic would be, or discussion topic would be, did he influence Wilkes Booth to assassinate the president, or was Wilkes Booth already going to do it, and that's why he took him, is to like silence him.
Right.
That's really the only. Everything else is just pretty much. I mean, beyond why did he time travel? But who knows? But I think that what you need. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the being above passage for trumpet.
Because I do think this has overall like complete package compared to like one-sided per, one's better than the other. This has just like, yeah, it's all pretty decent. It doesn't really have a fault outside of just not being like the greatest Twilight Zone episode ever created. It just
I did like it more than Mirror Image. Mirror Image is becoming my new Perchance to Dream. I didn't hate Mirror. I didn't hate
you don't
Mirror
like
Image.
You don't like the over smart woman in that episode, like the woman that just like is basically a man talking through her voice.
That episode just
that's
didn't
basically
do
what
it
it
for me.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I didn't hate it. It didn't do it for me.
Mm.
But whatever. I mean, it's not, at least it's not bad like other episodes that are higher on the list.
Mirror Images,
you
know what Mirror Images' problem is? It like just kind of comes out of nowhere and just kind of expects you to just kind of keep up with it. It's like, oh, here's this doppelganger. What? Where did that come? It's like, it's like, oh yeah, I saw you in the bathroom. Like,
I thought Mirror Image missed a lot of opportunities to like play with the background.
Oh, great.
Have like the same character walking around like, and we don't notice it. And on a second watch, that's when you realize, oh, there she is, or there he is, or something like that.
Let me ask you this: is this better than the one with Rocky, in the when he's in his own hell? Yeah.
Oh, where he thinks he's in heaven, but he's actually in hell.
What was that? That was a nice place to visit. Yeah.
There's a world of difference, which is him in his own.
I'd say it's on the same level as that one.
Really?
Totally different. I mean, a nice place to visit. Yeah, it's totally different vibe and different story, but like I got the same feeling of kind of like, yeah, it was a solid episode. I feel like maybe that one had a few more things to talk about, so I'll give it a slight edge.
Yeah, see, for me, a nice place to visit is not leagues above this one, but
well, that's what I was saying. It's there. I think they're right about here. Maybe a nice place to visit is like, and this one's right here. It's right there.
Better than
the time travel. I'm gonna lie. You put time travel in
understood.
it as a main focus, and then you explore that a little bit, and I'm already like, oh, that's cool. I'm already on board. It's kind of like the space episodes. I got a thing for it.
You see, the thing is, before this discussion, I would have looked at this one and went, it's an okay episode, because it really didn't. I'll be honest, it didn't blow my hair back a ton. But the discussions that you brought up about the fact that he possibly influenced Booth, that made me go, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Like, it would be interesting to ask Serling, like, was this in the intent or not? But yeah, no, with that discussion in mind, then yeah, it pushes it higher. But if it had just been, okay, guy goes back, guy tries to stop assassination, call it a day, then yeah, it probably would have put it a little lower, despite the solid package that was this episode, essentially.
What you're saying is right below nice place to visit, right above Mirror Image.
See, but I would rather watch What You Need above either one of them, or above that. But
I hear you there.
I mean, I would say, yeah, I would say Trumpet, Passage for, right above Passage for Trumpet, unless you guys want to go take it up to a nice place to visit.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's not a hill is worth dying on. I mean, I'm it's close enough. Yes, I liked it more than Mirror Image, but I'm with Triv that I liked What You Need slightly better.
So right above Passage for Trumpet.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Okay,
I'm kind of indifferent because so that seems like a good place, middle of the pack. So anyways, with that said, new number 21 is back there. Back there, there's so much bloom where babies burping, flowers bloom.
Back in time. Back in time. Number
one is still Eye of the Beholder. Number 49 is Trouble with Templeton. Next week, guys, episode 50 of the podcast, as well as the Twilight Zone. So
wicka.
We are.
It was at 51 because we took like the end of season 1. We
No, I
had
don't count
did an
that.
It's episode 50, but it'll be
Yeah.
our 50.
Episode 50.
True, fine. Have
Yeah,
it your
yeah.
way.
We'll just so technically, technically.
He said connectively. So connectively.
Yeah.
Connectively. Can we make this a word? Testicle.
Purple testicle.
There you go. But next week is episode 50 of the Twilight Zone. It is of course season 2, episode 14, which is The Whole Truth. Directed by James Sheldon, written by Rod Serling, stars the famous Jack Carson, Lauren Smith, George Chandler, and Jack Ging. That's where it's gonna land for season 2, episode 13 of Back There. We actually barreled through this pretty quickly, so I'm impressed. We usually we'll chat whatever nonsense. It takes me 3 to 4 years to edit down, so it's nice.
Well, there wasn't really a lot. This was pretty, with the exception of that one point. This is a fairly straightforward episode.
Yeah,
it was. With that said, we're gonna head out, but before we do, Triv, you and your anal raccoon definitely make this podcast a joy. And happy birthday, even though this will be like a week after your birthday. But where can they find your if they want to reach out and touch your anal raccoon, where can they find that?
I keep my anal raccoons at Trivial Theater here on YouTube. Random, obscure, and straight up bad movie reviews done as solos as well as collabs. And speaking of collabs, I do have an upcoming one here on Samurai Cop, which actually will be coming out this next week, unless meteors fall from the sky and Stripe emerges from Nick's ass and attacks me. We're also
a lot of stuff coming out of people's asses today. Okay,
yes, I would agree with that.
You know why?
Why? Because
I know.
You can also see me on Twitter at Trivial Theater.
Excellent. Jacob, I know you have a channel. I know you do things on that channel. I know I help you do things on that channel, whether good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where can they find those things that you do on that channel with those people and the soldering and all that good stuff?
You can find me at Jacob Anders Reviews YouTube channel. I'm also on. I'm really tired, so I'm speaking like I'm drunk. I haven't been drinking. I'm taco drunk. I'm on Twitter at Red Neville 2, and I have a weekly show, Tweekly show, twice a week. The Almost Awesome Show, where we talk about movies, movie news, entertainment news, sometimes games, sometimes review movies, just whatever comes to mind. Sometimes Sylvester Stallone sex dolls that we found in Australia. Check those videos out. Have that show twice a week on Wednesday and Saturday at 2:00 Central Time, and little videos from that show throughout the week. So check all that out. Yeah. And as far as like what I got coming, besides that, one thing I can't talk about, and I guess I can at this point.
Yeah, effectively you can't talk about it because it is Monday.
Ooh,
Monday.
Check out. I would have already. Check out. Recently, I released a review of Clerks 3.
Yay!
Check that out. And
check that out.
I think someone else is going to speak about that in a moment too. But I released that review and another one. I don't want to name it here. It's just so awesome. But I got another review video that is out, and if you go check it out, it's a great video. It's possibly my greatest video, my magnum opus. I might want to just quit after making this video. It's so wonderful and so great. Yeah, it's an awesome one. It's great. But yeah, check those out. All the videos and all the stuff. And
you want to stop you, Jacob?
Because
please. I don't. I'm like Stephen King. I don't know how to end it.
Do you know how to write a sex scene? That's a bigger
absolutely.
question.
Yeah. So, anyways,
sex scene.
So with that said, you can reach me at Movie Emporium. That's where all my content is. I will also be doing a review, unfortunately, for Clerks 3. I have a couple other reviews that are coming out that I can't remember at this moment. But yeah, look forward to that. Also, we are on Audio Boom and Anchor and SoundCloud and iTunes and Amazon Music. All the podcast feeds that you can think of, we're on. Analraccoons.fm, you know, that type of thing. So with that said, for myself, Jacob, and Triv, we'll see you guys next week in the Twilight Zone. Peace out, people.
Burrito.
Bye.
What's going on, everyone?
Shit. Sorry.
You did that shit on purpose.
What's going on?
I did.
What's going on? Son of a bitch. Right.
Bastard.
We're never going to get this shit started. When we actually try to start on time, that's when all this shit goes wrong.
Of course.
What's going on?
What's
Jesus
going on,
Christ?
This is a
Vampire
call
hunter.
that cannot start. It just goes on and on, my friends.
Shut up, lamb chop.
Piss off.